Yep.
And we
And at
put.
the end, we'll do our names and stuff too, right?
All right.
Oh, there you go. I
Yeah.
might need you to help us on that.
Yeah.
To be like,
We can do that at
do
the
it like
end.
this. So I'm gonna start in 3, 2.
Welcome to this behind-the-scenes look at the end of America with Thomas Giovanni. We're going to be talking with our production team of Nana Dufay and Jorge Navia about why we're talking about the end of our nation and what we hope to give you, our audience, to think and do about it. So let's talk.
All right.
All
I
right.
like
well,
it.
you know what?
Let's talk.
I think that we gotta start from the beginning, as people always say. You know, the why. Why now? Why do we think that this is the moment for this particular kind of podcast to start? And why you, since it's you
Since
there
it's
with
me.
your name. So
Well, I'll take the questions in order, especially given what we've had today, right?
right.
I mean, we've seen what the Supreme Court is doing to education rights. We've seen what they've done to the right for religious discrimination. It's not religious freedom, actually, right? And we just have seen a steady erosion. I think somebody you mentioned a few minutes ago that we've gone back like 40 years or so. We've seen abortion rights. And what's happening all over this country is a return to the norm. And this is why I'm talking about the end of America. We have not been a good nation that is just having these problems. We've been a bad nation who only recently, you talk about like the 60s, most of the changes you're talking about
Right.
that we talk about human rights and civil rights, they came in the 60s,
Mm-hmm.
the vast majority of them, right? And so when you look at the history of this country, I think if you do the math on it, we spent over 80% of our time in either outright enslavement or Jim Crow apartheid. And depending how you want to count the Civil Rights Act of 65, we're still there, right? So when we talk about, oh, what we lost or what's happening to this country, nothing has happened to this country. We're back to being the country we were, which is a country that shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, that's so it's funny that you mention it because, like I said, in this case, well, we have 3 different point of views, which we are very aligned with, kind of like the same line of thinking. But the fact that we have this diversity that you guys are seeing right now, and me as an immigrant, I'm not from here, so coming here, I always complain about Colombia, that is my nation is a nation without memory. That we just have the past 2 presidents. One was the guy who started the paramilitary movement, and now the current president is one of the ones who was part of the guerrilla. And you're like, do you guys don't see this? You guys forgot that these dudes started the civil war that went for 20 years, and now being here in the country where we said, you know, like it's the #1 country in the world and all that. I'm seeing the same. There's no memory or recollection of what you went through. Democracy and freedom started. I mean, you can fight a little bit, say it was in France or here or whatever, but at the end of the day, you know, it's one of the pioneers, right? And then you see what's going on in the past, like I said, 40, 50 years, you know, the struggle, and then going back to, okay, now the Supreme Court is doing all these rulings. And the fucked up part is that they're doing it in a lawful way.
Of course.
Because they're actually telling you, well, you know what? If we're talking about really discriminatory actions, if I have to pick you because of your race, well, I'm discriminating these other people. And you're like, what an asshole. Because you know that like they're giving you a good point.
Not really though, right?
Not based in reality.
There you
not
go.
based in
There
history.
you go.
Not
See,
based in the current situation.
that's what I
though.
want to hear.
Yeah, it's all theory, and we're living breathing human beings. We're
Right.
not living in a theoretical United States of America.
Right.
No.
You know, many people, black, poor white, Latin American, you name it, are suffering. Native
Right.
Americans are not mentioned.
Nope.
So
Not taxed.
So for me, it's like, why now is because we are being okey-doked again. And I'll speak for myself. As a 43-year-old, I feel like my generation, maybe a few people a little bit older than me, certainly everybody younger than me, more or less generally, is complacent with the placation, is or are unfortunately not seeing how bad the situation is because,
There you
like
go.
with what you're saying, because of the lack of lived experience, right? Learning history and, you know, being given lessons is one thing, but having experienced struggle is a very different thing. And I just think that this comfort that you and I talked about yesterday or the day before, just comfort that a lot of people are feeling is blinding them, dulling them, dimming, and diminishing them. And it's happening in front of your eyes, and you don't even know it's happening until it feels like it's too late. You know, when Trump was elected, a lot of people were in catatonic state. You know, like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. It feels like, you know, we didn't see it coming, and then it happened. But then you see the rollout, the aftermath, the justices, the judges. And, you know, we're going to have conversations about democracy and gun crime and all these other things. That's coming down the pike, so I don't want to deep dive on that. But I think why now is for all the reasons that you stated.
Right. And because it's just funny how you just touched something that is the reason why I wanted to jump here. And we're going to go deep down and talking the reason why we feel like we want to be part of this, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's what you just mentioned, you know, especially generations like, I'm a millennial, but I'm considered one of the older millennials, you know, 30 and above is basically the old millennials. So we kind of had the experience of changing from the technology to actually doing the one-on-one. But I feel like what you said is completely true, because when I was hearing you guys at first, because this is how we prep, so you guys know, this is how we do come up with all the episodes and the ideas. When I was hearing you guys, I'm like, but look, there's a lot of, I feel like there's a lot of how can I put it, like black people ain't doing that bad.
Oh, yeah.
But exactly, that's me coming from a different country, coming here and seeing all the things that you see in TV, like a lot of people over there, the kids where I work with the DOE, and I see like kids acting more towards the rap culture, right? And I'm talking about the whitest kids you ever seen, and they're very into like trying to speak the same way and all that. So I'm like, so there's actually people wanting to be, and I'm sorry, and I will say this, I'm not trying to say it in an offensive way, but I see people trying to be black.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
A
all right.
lot. Everybody want to be black now.
Well, they want to be black when they want to be black.
Okay,
right?
There you go.
They don't switch their names to black names on their resumes.
There you go.
They don't put blackface on when they go run up on cops. They don't do the black life. They do the black pretend, right? They literally will put on
there
blackface,
you go.
right?
So then, exactly. So then that's what I was like.
And it's still not good to be us. Let's remember this, right? The next person shot in this country by a cop is going to be a black person, right? If you were to give birth in a hospital, even with all your degrees, you got PhD. This is actual studies. You got PhD, master's, whatever, final educational degrees. You have the same mortality rate as an 8th grade dropout white woman.
Yes, as a black woman, absolutely.
Now, is that better than what you would have in South Sudan? Absolutely, right? So you're right, when you look internationally, yes, the opportunities are better here. There are a lot of things that are just fundamentally better here. But remember how they got here, right? We're the empire. We stole all that opportunity from all these other countries, right? And so when you come, or I don't know your particular family situation, but when people come, when people immigrate here, I don't think they're immigrating here to get a better life. I think they're coming here to get back the better life that was stolen from them. Look at the economic arrangement that our country maintains with our military around the world. The reason why all the precious metals are manufactured and come here to be in our phones is because we've literally killed some of your leaders who've tried to socialize, whether it's been oil, whether it's been mining, whether it's been gold, whatever. The reason socialism fails across the country, across the world, we've killed them all. And that's so when you talk about, it's better here, it's better here because we're an empire. And that's what empires do. And we don't deserve to be an empire. There's no such thing as that, right? And so when you look at even that part, just writ large about America, there's that injustice that has to be rectified. No empire lives forever. But then the other thing is, even when you talk about black people, right? Whether we're at the top or bottom of the country has always been determined by racism, and it keeps us at the bottom. Right? What that bottom is always wrong. It doesn't matter if the bottom is better here than it is, like I said, in South Sudan or whatever. Right? We deserve, all of us deserve a better life than what is given to us here, especially as black people in this country. Who built this country? Who died for this country? Who created the world's biggest and strongest economy coming out of the Revolutionary War? Without us, France would have cashed that debt in and we'd be speaking French now. So no, it is never good enough. Now I'm all mad. It's never good enough.
That's good. That's what you're here. That's what it is. That's what it is.
It's never good enough at this point until we're at least free. I don't even care about equality, but we should be liberated. Oh, and I want to say, I do want to touch on a piece of history that you mentioned. When you talk about who created democracy, the first free nation of modern nations on this planet is Haiti. They were the first one to actually outlaw slavery for all reasons, for all causes. The French like to fight. The Americans like to take credit. Haiti was the first actually free nation on this planet. And we haven't stopped punishing them for that. We've invaded them 3 times now. We're still there now.
Yep. And there's a lot more we could do for them that we the American government, not we the people, choose not to do.
Oh, no, we hate them. This is why you see pictures of us rounding them up like cattle, right? And then, ushering in Ukrainian refugees. What's the difference there? We know, right? And so, we have to look at what this country does. And, you mentioned a minute ago, I also thought it was interesting. You said, all right, Colombia in a certain way has no memory, right? Well, I think our nation obviously is built on false memories. Right? You talk about founding fathers. You talk about America's the greatest democracy. You talk about nation of laws, right? These are all lies. Right? We know these are lies. I mean, you can't be a democracy founded on slavery. You can't be, the land of the free founded on genocide and then work camps, right? So that's how we've lived, and we have lived that way until today, right? And I mean today as in tomorrow. We're going to keep doing this. And so these memories are what kind of fuels us, and that's why you see those motherfuckers walking around talking about make America great. It was never great, but it was something different to them than what they see. Right? Bunch of people with accents, even though you look like them, say they're mad at you as soon as you open your mouth, right?
Yes,
you're welcome to the Proud Boy convention until you start talking. And of course, looking like us, that's not the people they want, right? And so, what we have to do, and the reason I'm here, and I guess I'll go into my own personal piece for a little bit. I'm 53, so I'm of the generation that's right below what they call the silent generation. And our parents witnessed civil rights movement, firsthand. They saw the assassinations. Their friends died, and they did the best that they could to protect us from that. And I think I'm a very privileged person in that sense. And so I went to Morehouse College. I was in the Army for a couple years, and then I came out and I got to be a public defender at an organization called the Neighborhood Defender Service of Harlem. That was wonderful work where we actually treated black people as if they were basically middle-class white folk, right? And we really represented them as well as we could. And then I went to the Brennan Center for a while and did criminal justice reform across the country, so I got to see a lot of things. And the more I saw, the more I thought, I kind of dug in on that hope, on that, privileged belief. Maybe I'm just missing the formula. Maybe there's a key, I can just say something the right way, or, if I phrase it the right way, or just show this other study, One of those, like an enlightenment kit, right? Then I worked in government. And I came in the de Blasio's administration, the beginning of that. And, we were settling Central Park 5. We were settling and moving into the monitorship and stop and frisk. We were moving into a monitorship people don't talk about that much, but a Rikers Island, Nunez monitorship. And I got to be lead lawyer representing the city on those, right? And the idea was we're not going to do the same thing we've done. We're going to actually try to make it better, right?
Right.
And I had as much power as you could have. I was the first chief of staff at the law department. They're the largest municipal law department in the country. This is the largest civil rights settlement against the police department ever, right? We got de Blasio on our side. Now, remember that phrase, right? White man, Democrat on our side. It's going to go the way we think the story always goes, right?
It's going to come back to haunt us.
Well, when they turned their backs on him, when the cops turned their backs on de Blasio, he lost his shit and it was over for all real reform. And if you notice, we're, 10 years coming up now, I think, going into the monitorship. We're on our second monitor, by the way. He died in office, the first one. And we have not made any real progress. If you look at what's going on, look at the discipline. We just lost a police chief because she wanted to discipline the chief of department for actually voiding a gun case, of all things, where one of the former off-duty officer was waving a gun at some 12, 13, 14-year-old kids. And you know what the discipline was going to be was 10 days, vacation days docked. And she had to quit because she put that in, and the mayor didn't like it. So this is where we are on racial justice, right? This is where we are on what our system does and how we control our police and how we exercise our democracy, right? We saw the protest, to go back to democracy, we saw the protest on Memorial Day under de Blasio. I'm old enough that I only heard stories about Birmingham, but I saw the video footage of Bull Connor and those guys talking about how, these upstate Yankees are coming and they're causing this trouble. This Martin Luther King and these freedom riders are causing trouble in our comfortable, happy little town, right? And if these Negroes wouldn't stir up our niggas, we'd be okay. Tell me why de Blasio didn't say almost the same thing. Because he did. He said these out-of-state folk are coming here and causing trouble on Memorial Day. Then they did the research. 99% of everybody who got arrested on Memorial Day lived in the borough that they got arrested in.
So he was incorrect.
You can say incorrect.
But then, that's what, so this is what we do. We just come up with so many things that we realize, okay, this is an episode, this is an episode, this is an episode. Because why people don't, why isn't more podcasts, radio shows, TV shows, whatever, related to these topics? That's what I'm, because this technology is beautiful, but I feel like the younger generations need to know this because I feel they're so numb. Yeah. Like they're literally numb. What you just said, Nana, I 100% agree. They're like, they really don't, they think they have it easy. And I'm going to give you this. At school, they do have it extremely easy. But then when you have to sit down, and yeah, I'm white. So if I'm going to sit down with a dark-skinned child, you know, and I'm going to try to explain, like, yeah, in school, I'm going to baby you. But when you come out, if you think this is what the world's going to be for you, I'm sorry to tell you it isn't. But if I am that strong to tell him, then he's going to think that I'm trying to be racist.
Yeah.
And the truth is, like, my dude, I'm not even close to that. Like, you don't even know what it is. And as a white person, I'm telling you, you don't know what it is because I'm actually white. I have an accent. I'm Latino. My father's black. My mother. I have no identity in this country. I haven't been able to find it. Not even with my own Latinos because they look at me weird because I'm educated and white. So they think that I don't even know how to wash dishes.
Right.
But I have worked cleaning bathrooms and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what I have the same immigrant experience as any person coming here with no papers, even though I came here legally. And still I had to go through the same process, but because my skin color, I was not allowed to hang out with Latinos. But then whites, I have an accent, so it's kind of hard to understand you. So I don't, are you Jewish? Are you Italian? No, I'm Colombian. Like, what am I supposed to have why do you expect other people from other countries to be like? Do you guys read a book? Do you guys know geography at least?
Well, you know we don't. That's the thing.
There you go.
The lack of education, the lack of even a desire to be informed.
That's
the
my
lack
point.
of lack of a desire to relate to people who are unlike you or who have differences from you. Maybe not unlike you, right? At the core, we're human, but have differences from you, and that just reticence and entitlement that exists. And I feel it's pervasive in this country, is what you experience. Now, you're an immigrant, which I love. I am the child of immigrants, and you are the descendant of enslaved Africans. Yeah. So I love this dynamic.
Right, right. So that's what I said. Like, you guys don't have no idea the combination that we're bringing here is really good.
But I'm gonna push back on both of y'all youngins.
Okay.
There you go.
In defense of youngins. In defense of youngins, though, you know, the only hope that I think we ever have had and we ever continue to have are the younger generations. You know, it's not the 60, 70-year-olds who are out in the street doing these protests, right?
Right.
It's not, you know, it's not the 60, 70-year-olds who are demanding to work from home even in government and are leaving now. You know, quiet quitting is something that, you know, millennials are doing, right? And younger. Those are the people who are raising their voices. What I find more than anything else, especially the positions I've had, you know, I've been in senior management of some sort for like the last 15 years or so. What I find is we older generations put a lot of pressure on you guys to be quiet. And we find different ways to silence you. And when you raise questions, when you have doubts, when you have a problem, we find 11 ways to tell you no. Just wait another week. Tell you, no, this is not the way you fight this fight.
We know better than you.
And we put all these laws in place. Look, I mean, the average age of a House of Representative member right now is 57. The average age in the Senate is 65. Right? Is it any wonder that we're looking at climate change as if it ain't really happening? Right? Is it any wonder when you say net neutrality around here, they don't know what the fuck you're talking about, right? That's us. That's not the young people's fault, right? My daughter is 17. She runs around protests. She's an LGBTQ protest. She's doing protests for racial justice. You know, she's active, right? And if you go back and you look at the successful movements we've had and the successful moments we've had in this country, they're driven by young folk, not old folk. Right, it's always the old folk holding on. Even old black folk in racial justice, right? We have motherfuckers talking about separate but equal was okay, right? In that argument, right? And so you have to have, and we killed obviously Stokely and not all of them. But we killed a lot of the Panthers, and we killed a lot of that young movement, and so they were gone. But that was the energy, right? Those were the people who were saying no to this. And even King, I mean, he got older, but he was young. He wasn't an old man talking about we need to do better. He was a young man saying the world needs to get better. Yeah. And so, and X, obviously, right? I mean, all these people are mostly on the younger side. And when you think about who our heroes really ought to be and what we ought to be celebrating, I see far more hope in the younger folk than I do in the older ones. I mean, that's just one thing.
I do too, but I want to.
You may not like it, but I do.
I want to be a jerk and say I don't.
You know, okay.
I don't know if there's, because you kind of bring these topics to the young people and they really think. So this is the thing. I realize that especially in our cases, we want to blame other people that they have to be blamed, and I'm not saying they don't, but that's what I want to be here as much as I can, because I like to push back a little bit. Yes, you know, the people in power. Yes, we have to blame them because they are to blame, but also we have to take some accountability because, for example, for the Latinos, I'm gonna be straight up honest. You come here, you want to give your child the best life, whatever. You want to give them everything you never had, and you don't realize you're raising brats most of the time. And I encountered them, and I'm like, what? You have no idea what your father, your mother had to go in their countries. Like, when you get here, you will never get it somewhere else. Like, I want you to understand that. Oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And then they're doing the stereotypes. And then I'm like, you have no idea how many people are out there fighting to prove Latinos. We're not the ones that are going to pump your gas. We're not the ones that are going to work in the 7-Eleven. We're not the ones just working in restaurants. You know, there's lawyers, there's doctors, there is governors and presidents. If not, our countries wouldn't have people in power. So it's like people that come here, Latinos are not the ones that are going to, like, don't play the stereotype. And I feel like our cultures, and I see the same on black people. Like, sometimes teach them not to be the stereotype, because then that's, and I'm not saying whitewash them, because then people take it that way.
Well, that's what you're in that territory, right?
Right.
Because what you want to call respectable, what you want to call responsible, what you want to call correct in a lot of ways is going to cipher to a lot of folks as just white, and that's not fair, and it's not correct.
Right. Because why they have to take that as white is good? Why do you have to take it?
That.
Right. Well, let me. I'll push back gently first with this story. When I was a public defender, one of the things that we would have, especially in the summer, a bunch of, you have your drug. This was before the Rockefeller drug laws and before marijuana was actually legalized. So you would see day after day, streams of young black men, blue jeans, white T-shirt. Right? That's just blue jeans, white T-shirt. And it got to be the point that cops were now just, if they saw you in blue jeans and a white T-shirt, they thought you were that's what you were doing. I talked to judges. They were like, yeah, he had that was kind of the drug dealer outfit, right? Well, come to find out, I'm not going to name the company because I don't know which one it was, but one of the major sports companies and apparel producers had been giving out white T-shirts. And they gave them out to hundreds of thousands of kids up in Harlem. They were giving them out. It was the cheapest thing you could get, and you could buy 6 for $1 also. So that was just what was cheapest, and these were poor kids. Some of these kids then, like you talk about imitating the stereotype, some of these kids were actually high school valedictorians. But the cops were coming in and catching them, and of course, because cops love to lie, they were saying, well, we got him. Either he was a lookout, he didn't have any drugs on him, he didn't have any money on him, he was a lookout, right? And we'd have to do all that sorting, but they'd all get arrested. But I had conversations with judges who said, well, if you don't want to be treated like a drug dealer, don't look like one. White T-shirt, blue jeans.
Right.
They don't look like drug dealers. They look like kids. Y'all can't tell the difference because you don't talk to them. And so that's one of the things you got to think about. When we talk about stereotypes, sometimes the kids are trying to look like a thing that they're not because they're kids. Right? I mean, everybody wants to look tough. Everybody wants to be bad.
Right.
But the other thing we have to think about, and as a super entitled, American from, the beginning, I don't know whether or not it's fair to talk about the hustle that immigrants have to make it, and the pressure that's put on you as normal, right? Because kids should be able to be kids. Young people should be able to be young people. And you should be able to, if you want to pump gas, and now you want to, but if you pump gas, that shouldn't, burden the race, right? Because this is one of the things that we deal with a lot, right? Every time somebody black is in trouble, the race is in trouble.
Yep.
When a white kid gets in trouble, that's just a lone wolf, right? And so, and that's part of what's feeding into, I think, a piece of what's animating what you're saying, which is that, don't be the stereotype. There isn't a stereotype. That's some shit white people put on us. And then we run around squashing each other, right? Because this is what happens, right? We'll end up in a fight. Our mayor, Eric Adams here, he had a big campaign, I think in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, pull up your pants.
Yes.
Right? Stop sagging. You won't get arrested if you stop sagging your pants. You'll get a job if you stop sagging your pants. All this respectability politics, right? That never stopped any nigga from getting shot by any of these cops.
That was so ridiculous.
They weren't checking pants before they whooped your ass. They weren't checking pants before they shot you in the face or the back.
Right.
They never have been. They never will be. Right? Jay-Z has been discriminated against in stores. Right? Oprah didn't have her pants sagging when they wouldn't let her in the store.
Henry Louis Gates.
Skip Gates thought he owned his own home and could break his own windows, and he found out different, didn't he? Right?
Yeah.
So, and it's not about it. But when we do the respectability politics thing, when we try to step up to whatever standard, and I'm putting that in quotation marks, right? Because, of course, if I go to Appalachia, if I go to Alabama somewhere, what am I going to see? Poor white trash, dirty as fuck, can't speak the language anymore. Right? All the things that we pick on immigrants for, right? And they've been here forever.
Yeah.
But nobody talk. They are salt of the earth. They're, the core of America, red-blooded Americans. But you do the same thing with your accent, right? I can put you next to somebody from Tupelo, Mississippi, right?
Right.
Neither one of you could I make out if you talk to me too fast, right?
That's actually completely true.
Right, but they'll say you are a difficult immigrant, and this person, well, that's just American, right? Now, if they black, then they say she's a dumb bitch, right? But you understand how we do.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying about, what we're entitled to. This is why I think this country has to end, because we keep having this false standard out here, right? And we only impose it on the us's of the world.
Right.
Right? As an immigrant, as a Latino, as a black person.
Yeah.
Like, we got to stand.
Be ourselves. Like, it's exhausting. I need to be able to be authentically me. And I'll say this, being West African, being Ghanaian American, and being so Americanized, though, having grown up with, the children of enlisted Army brats, overseas mostly, which are predominantly minorities, black, Filipino, Latino, multiracial, all the things. I'm like, no. I have the view on all of it. African people have a way about us. It's just like sometimes things don't have to be intellectual. We have certain characteristics, certain things we like to do, certain ways we like to move, certain ways we like to dress. We are more colorful in every way, in how we present ourselves and how we speak. It has imbued beautifully the Latin culture, the Caribbean culture overall, and also American black culture, which people love to appropriate, as you said, when they see fit. So for me, it's like, what I'm saying is that when I see black Americans do certain things, and when I say black Americans, I'm talking about descendants of, enslaved Africans, I'm able to, because of my close proximity to Africa, immediately recognize where that's coming from. It's in our DNA, and it's also in our traditions that have been passed down. Why can't we just be us? I'm not saying, being us means that we are robbing and stealing. I would never say that. But why can't we wear hoodies if we want to?
Right.
Who's to tell Trayvon Martin that he can't wear a hoodie, and that has something to do with his fate?
Exactly.
And who's to tell his mother and his father that? I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. And for me, being in corporate spaces and, just being around a whole bunch of white people from 9 to 5, the majority of the week, it's exhausting.
Yes.
It's exhausting. It's a very exhausting. It's not on me to stop you from stereotyping me.
Exactly.
Right.
But that's the burden that we all have as minorities.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's on you to not do it because it's unjust.
But we've always approached that, and this again goes back to, I think, what your point talking about law. We've always approached racism as a victim's problem. Right? It's something for the victims to pursue a lawsuit, for the victims to propose a program. It's always for the victims to fix, right? And that's what the law, the legal system is, right? You need a plaintiff. Right? Otherwise, you just have the discrimination. But racism is not the victim's problem. Racism is, of course, the white person's problem. White supremacy is not a problem of black people, right? We didn't invent that. It's not an immigrant problem. Colonialization is not an immigrant problem, right? Colonialization is the problem of the colonizer. And it's the only crime, when you think about this, these are the kind of funny things that come to my mind. Colonization, racism, white supremacy, those are crimes, right? Those are crimes against humanity.
Right.
It's the only crime where the victims have to do the work for reparation. if somebody walked in here and just straight robbed us, right? We wouldn't have to prove anything other than that's our money to get it back. We wouldn't have to convince him. We wouldn't need his buy-in to come and, well, I'll give you a program to get your money back. I'll give you $2 of your money back. I'll give you affirmative action, right? If you can really prove to me that you deserve your money back, come and get your money back, right? No, right? You owe me my shit. Give me my money back. You stole it.
That's it, yeah.
Right? But we're begging for reparations in this country as if we don't know where the money is, right? And we're talking to white people like we're talking about implicit bias, not just straight up racism every day. And the only reason we're doing that is because they can't stand to hear racism. Not us, they.
Yeah.
Right? This is what's weird to me in the sense of why we're here and why I'm here.
Right.
I try to give people different perspectives that I think are relevant and useful to freeing yourself. Because some of this is about how you conceive it. If you don't see the bars, then you won't think you're caged, right? If you think we're in a fair fight here and you just keep running into shit, you're like, I don't know why this is happening to me. Maybe I should pull my pants up. Maybe I should speak with less of an accent. Maybe I should call myself George. I know a couple of Latinos who spell their name, right, but they call themselves George. And I'm like, damn, that's a fucking shame, right? Because that's just passing. And we know why they're doing it.
Right.
I feel bad for them,
Right.
But here we are.
Right.
And so how are we supposed to navigate, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things you got to do is see the thing for what it is. And if you keep seeing it for what it's not, then you'll keep reacting to what isn't. And as long as you do that, they win, because the reality is what the reality is, right? They're shooting. They're taking your money. There's a reason wages have stagnated, but we love billionaires. They've tricked us, right? And so the trick has got to be undone, and we've got to show them.
Right.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is why we're into this. This is why we are involved in it. It's just the desire to be a voice for a change. Hopefully, it's heard or not. That's we cannot tell people the outcome and be like, if I talk, you're gonna get it. I wish that's how it works. It doesn't, but it doesn't mean that you have to stop trying, right?
Yeah.
But then, because little by little, you've been telling us the why you or why us. So I would like to hear a little bit more of like, who are we? Who are you to come here and talk? Who's Thomas Giovanni? Which you already gave us a little bit of the background, but a little bit more of it. Who's Nana? Why are you here? What specific part are you playing in this and the creation of this podcast? And who the hell am I?
You go first.
Do I go first? Damn, because I came too aggressive. I knew that was gonna come and bite me in the ass. I knew it.
Speak up too quick.
So pretty quick, guys. I'm one of the producers in this podcast. The reason why I decided to come in here is because, first of all, I feel so. A little bit of lecture. The word ignorant is not an insult, and I don't know why people use it as an insult. I consider myself ignorant, and that's one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to jump into this project, because I feel like, again, I know one side of the story. I know what I see in freaking Hollywood, because Hollywood is the one that sells everything to the world. We really don't have much of American media besides Hollywood. You're not gonna say, I get the American news. No, you get whatever Fox, CNN, or then you just get whatever movie they make about whatever happened in the real life. It's based on historic events. Oh, so that really happened. So that's the problem of how you are, your mind is built about America, which I hate saying America because I'm sorry to destroy your dream, guys. America is a continent, not a country, so I hate saying America.
Yes.
But that's the biggest reason why I wanted to jump in. I'm like, I don't want to be ignorant. I want to learn. And it doesn't mean that I'm not going to have whatever feelings I have for whatever experience I've gone through. Like, I can actually say, I use the word bias a lot instead of racism, because I feel like when Latinos reacted against me, I know there was some racism, but I want to call it as bias because Latinos were ignorant. And when a black person actually called me and speak, which has happened, but it's a black person, I understand it comes from ignorance. So that's what I try to call it, bias, because I don't want to say, oh, you racist, man. When I live in the projects, because I've been living in the projects, when people see me, they're afraid because they think I'm a cop.
Yes.
And I'm like,
hell yeah.
That's fucked up.
Well.
But then I realize why, and I'm like, all right, so I'm going to call it a bias, but then that's ignorance. In the sense of, if you see me as a cop living in the same building that you live in, where is the project, right? See, but that's what I mean. Like, I'll be like, when you speak to me, you hear a little bit of an accent. I know.
No, I'm gonna let you talk, but I got something to say.
There you go. Because then the person told me, like, have you seen how you look like? And sometimes how you dress, and you use sometimes some kind of boots when the winter comes, and you look like. And then you have like a Jack, you like a fucking John Wick. And I'm like, what the fuck is John Wick? And then I watch a movie, I'm like, I don't know if to take it as a compliment or you just kind of insulted me in a very nice way.
A little both.
But there you go. So it's basically that's it. It's ignorance that drove me into it because there's so many things that were happening that I never, especially because they tell you in New York like the place where everybody can be anything.
Sure. That's what they tell you. Anyway.
Right. So you come here and you see all of this. You're like, you guys have no idea what New York really is. Which I love it, but there's like it's a coin, you know. There's another side of it that you probably never see. So
that's hilarious.
That's me.
And New York is not America.
That's me. Right. And then you're like, no, trust me. The other states are like, yeah,
we're worse. We are.
I said it once, and somebody looked at me like, "What do you mean?"
Oh, we're absolutely worse.
I'm like, let me know.
Worse in what regard?
We have the most segregated schools
in
the country.
Yes.
Our water is as bad as Flint, Michigan's at best.
People say New York water is the best.
Well, they're lying.
Yeah,
they should check out the DEP's actual testing of the water.
The evidence.
Damn.
You can so that's education. Our cops.
Yeah.
Right. Literally, the Floyd settlement is the largest police settlement in the history of policing because they did the most damage to the most people in the history of policing at once. Right. That's Fourth Amendment. Black people, black and brown people on the street. It doesn't get any wider than that. That's us.
Yeah.
That's record setting, right? We've got our fire department settled a $100 million suit that they're still working on diversity and training for to remedy. We've got one of the world's, the world's too, one of the country's largest jails is Rikers, right? It is known as, you can sing, rappers rap songs about Rikers. Right, that's how bad it is.
I thought that was more of a California thing. Right. Imagine that.
No, it ain't. I'm not saying LA County doesn't have its problems as well, but
no, I mean like the largest one in the whole country.
No, we do it. Well, here's the thing. If you the way that California has made way more counties and they have more land, so they're more broken up. We're basically concentrating.
I see what you're saying. Okay,
right.
Right.
So
that,
what happens
that
is,
makes more sense.
So if you count LA County, Orange County, and I can't remember the other county, then yeah, they're bigger in that sense. But we're just all here. Right, and we funnel everybody from the 5 boroughs right to there.
Right. Okay, that makes more sense.
And so
that makes more sense.
The largest and this goes back in history, but the largest anti-draft, which is basically say white supremacist riot in the country in the run-up to Civil War, is here. Right, that was us. Again, Floyd protests. We're right in there every time. If we're not at the top of the bottom, we're definitely at the bottom of the top here. We're the worst in so many things. And we get over, and this goes back to your point about what you get to see. All the media companies are headquartered here. They're not going to say we live in a shithole. That's all that happens.
Yeah.
So they want to cover, it's like, oh my God, Mississippi's schools are so terrible. Just walk down the street. Read the tests. They're going down. Right? No, and it is. I'm not joking about this. The studies are done. This is the most segregated school system in the country. Like I'm not saying that because I don't like this. I'm saying that because it's been proven, right?
Yeah. Some parents are like, I'm gonna try to see what neighborhood I got to live in, so my kid can have a really good school.
Exactly.
That's what they do.
And
it's a kind of segregation. Yeah. And people don't
residential
realize
segregation is hardcore here because it's so small, right? So you got kids who are in the upper west side, upper east side, right? Who are living just a mile away from kids who are at public schools, and their school looks like a spaceship. Their school looks like a basement for a serial killer, right? And so that's how we're living, right?
Right.
And so absolutely. But anyway, I got off topic.
Right. No. That's what we do because then that would be another episode. See, that's how we do it.
But Nana was about to talk about more how you came to us.
I came by way of Andre Garrett, of course, and Andre, our guy. Andre sent me your article, your essay.
Fuck civility
on Medium. And I read it immediately. And I'm really not a reader. I read that shit fast. Like, I absorbed it. And I told Andre that, notwithstanding the incredible eloquence of, that was in the way you wrote it, I could have written that. Like, you were speaking for me in every single regard. And I love the way you ended it with the beacon of truth about how Black women are the next thing, and the thing. But what resonated with me about that and why I'm now here, learning more about the both of you and, just becoming part of this family was I'm sick and tired. You hear the angry black woman trope. I'm never going to be that, I think, because I really try to reside in peace, but I am very exhausted. I am the epitome right now of the tired black woman trope. Because I've seen enough, right? Like I've seen enough in my time. I've seen, I've been on both sides of issues. Like I am someone who is for prison reform, and that's a broad term and a nebulous term that we can always break down in the future. Sure. But I've also been on the other side of it, right? I experienced my husband being murdered too. So I see the quote unquote victim, although I don't think of myself that way. I've experienced it, right? So there's that. I am, now in 20 plus years of, as I mentioned, corporate, career. And it's the racism, the structural racism, the passive aggressiveness, again, the placation, the insults, the offenses that are embedded in these spaces, in these offices, that reflect, what is to come, what already is, but what is to come when we think about the Supreme Court striking down the affirmative action and what that's going to do to even create a larger dearth of, people of color in leadership positions potentially in corporate spaces and, and also in our government, right? Like we're talking about the system that is set up for us to have traditional education, to, reach certain markers in our career, to have certain experience before we're even allowed into junior management and, lower leadership, right? And then when you think about what that means now for something like this, and, just decreased access to university education with affirmative action being stricken down. So there's so many things that I'm seeing that I see reflected in my life. And I am 1,000,000% with fuck civility. I am 1,000,000,000,000% with I do not want to conform. I do not believe that it is fair, it is just to tell any group of people in this country, which is a country of, but for the indigenous people, visitors who have remained, or people who came captive against their free will. Nobody has the right to tell anybody here how to be. We have laws to subscribe to. Those laws are also skewed toward the majority, toward the patriarchy, but nobody has a right to tell me how to be. I need to be myself. I deserve to give my children, my nieces, my nephews, my godchildren, a higher place on the continuum of freedom and liberty. I'm tired. I'm fuck that shit. I'm over. I'm done with the bullshit of
that's fair.
Don't submit to stereotypes. Be this way, be that way. Enough is enough. And I want more people, whether they're black, whatever, to feel empowered by these conversations and to feel that they can own who they are, their right as human beings to exist, to be more than just existing in this country, to have well-being, health.
Yes.
Health. We don't have access to good health care. We don't have access to basic needs. People don't have money for transportation to get screened for colon cancer.
Right. That's right.
And in every disease state, Black people and Native Americans have the worst outcomes.
Absolutely.
Every single one. You flip-flop, Blacks or Native Americans, or we're neck and neck. Like, what is this?
Right.
It's over for that. So, yeah, it looks like Black people are doing a lot better. It's only a couple decades since Martin Luther King was assassinated, since, Malcolm was assassinated. But look at the numbers. Look at the actual quality of life. Look at the evidence. it's not good at all.
It stays at the bottom.
Yeah, so that's why I'm here.
Yeah,
that's why I'm here.
Completely fair. That's I'm happy we've been providing a space for that, especially this guy.
Absolutely.
Running it for us.
Yeah.
I know you said a little bit of yourself already, but kind of like go backwards and kind of.
Well, so to I guess to finish off some of the career points, I've spent all my life as a lawyer, in an advocacy role. And one of the things is that you're always speaking for somebody, which means you're always risking somebody else's something, right? So I can't call a judge a piece of shit racist because all that's going to happen is my guy's going to go to jail, right, for a longer time. I can't say to the jury, you motherfuckers ain't listening. I know you're not listening. I know you don't want to be here, and I don't want to be here either because y'all suck, right? Because then he's going to jail. Even as an advocate, you're asking people for money. You're asking them to give you their time. You're asking, and you're mostly asking white folk, right? So this is why you have to say implicit bias. This is why you have to say, can't we all get along some kind of way? You have to give that, right? And so, you do that for 53 years. And you come up and you look at where we are now, this Supreme Court, right? The Republicans, in my lifetime, they've always been pieces of shit. So I don't expect anything from them. But I have been increasingly disappointed, like I talked about with de Blasio. The Democrats, I think, have been part of what is our problem as black people. Because we have not held them to the standard that we deserve to be the core of their party. And that is the thing that kind of broke me, I think, in the de Blasio piece here. I've had my problems with Clinton, obviously with the crime bill and with welfare reform. But I was still younger and I still had some kind of hope. I was like, maybe we can do something, maybe we talk. But then, when you really see where we are now and how those things unfolded just like we were in the 50s again. And that is true. That's not an exaggeration. We killed folk. We smoke bombed them. I mean, look at all the now what we do differently is we get a report afterwards. Philadelphia did their report. We've done our report. LA's doing their report. Now we get a report. Ferguson's got a report. Minnesota's got a report. But that's the only differences, right?
Right.
They're not changing.
Yeah.
They got more money now. Not one Democratic president has ever given us federal police reform, right? That's not hard to even talk about. But no, what we got is this motherfucker talking about fund them more because it's going so well, right? So at that point, I just realized I stopped speaking for others so I can start speaking for myself. And this is what that is. And I don't have to be that civil. I don't work for anybody. I'm not running for anything. So whatever the truth is, for me, the truth is. And I hope to help people who are thinking these kind of things. Like it really impacted me when you said that before. You said it before about flexibility, that you felt it was speaking not just to you but with you and kind of for you. That's what I'm hoping to get. I've had one-on-ones with people in my offices, for years, where you try to uplift the voice and get some solidarity with people and move them to better salaries or something like that. But hopefully this will be a bigger audience that can start to look at things differently and start to say fuck that. Right. Because that's really what this is about. Right. Is really saying some kind of fuck that. This is broken, and it's broken on purpose. That's the other thing I want people to really understand. Right. We're not having problems in America. America is the problem.
And that's the thing.
And so I wanted to make sure that I got that out. I guess the other thing, and it comes out from my name, I do have kind of almost a family tradition of being troublemaking in some sort.
There you go.
My mother is Nikki Giovanni. She's a poet, and has lived a public life that has been very, very supportive of liberation and freedom for tons of people. And so there's a piece of that it's like, I think I've been rebelling against. I used to go on tour when I was like 5, 6, 7. And the first thing everybody said to me is, are you going to be a poet? And I was like, fuck no. I'm just like killing. I didn't read her shit when I was young, and I never wanted to be in that. And then, of course, she reared me in a way that I didn't have to be, right? She didn't want me in those streets. She didn't want me in that kind of a problem. So many of that generation did. So now, though, I find myself in a position where I want to be talking about those things differently. I tried it as a lawyer, and it really, in terms of helping justice happen, it didn't help. So that's what got me to this point now. And I want also to tell my daughter that there is something else.
There you go.
I've always said that there are two people I'm talking to in life. My 17-year-old daughter, even when she was 5, and my 30-year-old daughter. And I want to be able to tell her basically 2 things about both of those, and at different times, because maturity is something else. First thing I want to tell her about anything I've done is I hope you can be proud of it. Right? Now, if you can't be proud of it, I hope it was none of your business. because there's some things that are mine, right? But I really want to be able to talk to her about, well, this is why I did this job. This is why I did that job. This is where I was here. And sometimes I felt like that, like when we started in the administration. But 7, 8 years down the line, when I was still there, I don't know what I would say to her about why I'm still here, right? I watched them shoot those people and kettle those people in the protests, right? I watched all that go down. And I complained. You know, I made noise. I did what I'm supposed to do in that space, right? We're in corporate, we're in law firm America. But so now I see this country, I think, for much more what it is, and I'm more prepared to say what it is. And I think that's the purpose of this podcast, which is really to talk about how this country has crossed the line that it's not going to go back from. One of the ways I describe it is we were formed in the binary stars of white supremacy and capitalism. Those have collapsed, and they are collapsing now into a black hole. Our society is circling that, and we've passed the event horizon. I don't think we're going to come out of this. I don't think there's a Supreme Court justice. I don't think there's 5 justices. I don't think we're going to come out of this. Our economy is collapsing. The rest of the world knows they can live without us more and more.
Yeah.
More African and Latin nations
Thank
are getting
goodness.
more and more powerful. So we're at the end of America. And my question is, how are we going to come through that black hole? We can come through it a broken nation, a pariah that we would deserve, or we can find some solidarity with the people we used to oppress and then be a nation that's worthwhile. But either way, as a broken nation or as a new nation, that's the end of America. So that's what we're here for.
I couldn't say it better, man.
That was fine.
Because that's actually the reason why I feel like that's what we gotta just put it out there. And that's just a quick, just to let you guys know very quick. That's why you heard, this is how we just prep, man. We just throw a bunch of stuff that are going on. We come up with the ideas, and we have the 2 episodes coming up, actually. One's going to be democracy, which now you see a little bit of where we stand on that.
Yeah.
And gun crimes, so you guys heard a little bit of what we think through the whole conversation with these positions of powers that we're seeing. So yeah, I hope you guys are excited as we are, of course.
I am jazzed.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
So now I should do the outro, right? That's just the that's it one, right? Because I just did really do the black hole thing, because I thought that's how you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to do the
I'm just gonna clap it for you in the audio intentions, but not for the camera. So if the audio engineers is here, I'm just gonna do it here, so you can.
That's it for this behind-the-scenes episode of The End of America with Thomas Giovanni. Look forward to our launch date. We don't have one.
I would just say look forward to our launch.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
All right.
do it again.
Yep. That's it for this episode behind the scenes of fuck me. Now I start reading both parts. Give me it again.
3, 2, 1.
That's it for this behind the scenes episode of The End of America with Thomas Giovanni. Look forward to our launch date coming soon. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as you've seen, it takes a strong team to make a worthwhile podcast. So I'm thanking first our executive producer, Tracy Palaire, which every new podcast desperately needs. Our 3-hatted co-producer and sound co-host and sound engineer, Nana Dufay, and Sound Easy, her sound studio. Our 2-hatted co-host and co-producer, Jorge Navia. Our unseen but very felt co-producer, Andre Garrett. Our shadow consultants, you know who you are. And finally, Gotham Production Studios for hosting this recording. Thank you.
Let's do another take it out.
Yeah.
There you go. So second
Or
take.
How is your name pronounced?
That's why I looked at it. I fucked it up.
That's why I was like, it's
Yeah,
Navia.
Yeah, it's
Navia.
Navia. I know.
Yeah.
He told me earlier, and I just.
You want to try it
Jorge
again?
Navia, and mine
Because we have.
Dufier.
Dufie. What did
There
I
you go.
say?
Dufay.
Take your time. Whenever you're ready. Because you know what it is? Once we finish the conversation, it can go like a blackout, and then we can bring up with the video and the audio doing that.
Yeah.
So if you want to look at the camera a little bit too, while
Yeah,
you're doing the
yeah.
outro,
Okay.
that's good too.
I hate when I do that. Navia.
Mm-hmm. And we still have 9 minutes of the first hour, so you're good.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm.
Second take. You ready?
Mhm.
3, 2, 1.
That's it for this behind-the-scenes episode of The End of America with Thomas Giovanni. Look forward to our launch date coming soon. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as you've seen, it takes a strong team to make a worthwhile podcast. So I'm thanking, first, our executive producer, Tracy Pelaire, which every new podcast desperately needs. Our three-hatted co-producer, co-host, and sound engineer, Nana Dufie, and Sound Easy, her sound studio. Our two-hatted co-host and co-producer, Jorge Navia. Our unseen but very felt co-producer, Andre Garrett. Our shadow consultants, you know who you are. And finally, Gotham Production Studios for hosting this recording. Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Do you wanna? Cause I feel like she doesn't have to cut it until we finish the episode for completely. Do you wanna try and do the intro bump? Or
I don't know. I think we should keep the conversation flowing. Why don't you don't want to just go to the next episode? What do you think? I don't care.
All right. I mean, yeah, because you.
I was enjoying the conversation piece.
I'm enjoying the conversation too. I think we can maybe bunch all the intros
bumps
at the very end. Yeah, that's okay.
Let me just stop this. So I'm gonna tell you, I feel like we actually did a 55-minute episode. That's what I told Andre. It's not gonna be 35. It's not gonna be 40. It's not gonna be 45. Plus, you add the intro bump, it's gonna be like probably a 50 something. Should I stop the video and stuff? So at this moment, you can stop it because that's the first episode. So for the first episode, yeah. Thank you.
Stop the audio and the video.
Yes, for the first episode. Thank you.
That was good. How did you feel?
It felt all right.
So for the second one, because that was the question I had,